everyone, and welcome to my podcast. This is Ann P. of Fiber, Floss, and Fiction, and today is Wednesday, September 9th, 2020. I am coming to you today from kind of a gray and dreary, overcast sort of day. We had a major weather shift here. It was 88 on Monday, and this morning when I got up, it was 32 degrees, and we had some snow overnight. Kind of a big change for 72 hours. It's still kind of overcast, so hopefully the artificial lighting will work okay, and we will get this podcast out to you because today's kind of my day to do that. I have a load of stuff to talk about, so I'm just gonna jump right in. Everything here is good. Staying home, staying masked, staying safe, doing what we can, all that good stuff. The new normal. So let's jump right on in and let's talk about some knitting. These are going to be kind of in no particular order because I have fallen down a rabbit hole of a Harry Potter challenge group on Ravelry, and the fall term just kicked off September 1st. And so even though I'm normally a fairly monogamous knitter, I've wound up casting on a bunch of things because I'm working on some smaller stuff for classes. I'm working on some bigger things for some of their larger yardage challenges, Quidditch, and that kind of thing. So I have kind of a mishmash of stuff that's now currently on the needles, so I'm just going to show it to you as it comes off the pile. The first piece is this pair of socks that I just cast on. These are the Kelpie socks by Olivia Villarreal. Hopefully I'm saying that right. Here she is. These are cabled socks, but I'm cabling them without a cable, and then they have a textured stitch pattern for the leg. And this is my next pair in the 100 Days of Socks knit along that I'm hosting over on Ravelry in my group there. Any sock pattern, any sock yarn, we're going to just knit some socks. We started in August, and we're going to, or sorry, July. Is that right? I don't even know what month we started in. Anyway, we're just about at the halfway mark. We have until October 17th or thereabouts to knit socks, and I probably will continue doing that. I am knitting these on US size 1s. Here is the first sock. Now the pattern is written so that you have the right sock with the cable on this side, and then when I do the left sock, the cable will be here, so they'll be on either side. The pattern is kind of loosely written, right? It shows you contrast heel and toes, but it doesn't really give you any information about how to go about doing that. So if you haven't done that before on a heel flap, you have to know what you're doing in order to get it to set in right, because the instructions don't give you any clue as to that. There's a lot of parts in it where it's just like knit till it gets the way you want, so that's what I'm doing. This is a 75 superwash merino 25% nylon sock yarn from Yarn Co., who I don't think exists anymore. The colorway is called Abigail, and it's this pretty speckled gray and pale turquoise, and then like navy blue and other colored speckles on it. And then I'm just using a mini of my Rhiannon sock for the heel. It's the same yarn base, and that is the color I'm using. It is available in the Advent kit that went on sale last weekend. If you are not on my newsletter and not a member of my Woolly Wonka Fibers group on Ravelry, or don't follow me on Instagram, I will post a link to the Advent kit listing below in case you are looking to pick up one of those for holiday knitting. They're two different colorways in a stole size and a scarf size, and they're based on A Christmas Carol. So those went on sale over Labor Day. I guess I should just toss that in. So this is sock 1. I obviously have the heel turn done, and I'm working on the gusset, and we'll keep plugging away at those. I am enjoying the pattern very much. I like how squishy the little waffle texture is working up on those. Okay, next, let me show you my finished item. This was just a quick project that I cast on for one of the Harry Potter classes. This is the Visby hat by Marie Green, who is Olive Knits. You might recognize her name or business handle. She is the designer of the Beekeeper cardigan that I knit earlier this year. And this is another fun one from her. It's a DK weight, and I used a skein of Rowan DK Rowan spun that I had in my stash in this pretty purple color. It's got a lot of gorgeous tweedy bits to it, and a very quick knit. It's got slip stitch to make this kind of fishtail, I guess I would call it, pattern, and then it's interspersed with garter stitch. It's not super slouchy. It has like a little bit of extra. So I like that very much. It's probably going to go into the giveaway bin, I guess I'm calling it, the charity bin. It's very lightweight, but actually pretty warm. So this was like a 2 or 3 day knit, and used up a skein of DK that I had floating around. I do have enough left over to make probably another hat and maybe even a pair of mitts. Not sure if I would repeat the pattern. There's so many great patterns out there, but yeah, really enjoyed it. This just comes in one size, so it's sort of like a standard 21-inch head circumference knit, and it's knit on 4s for the ribbing and US 5s for the body. So again, a pretty quick knit, and I think came out super cute. So very happy with that, and happy to have that finished. Next up, I cast on for the Quidditch match that's going on in this Harry Potter group. Let me fold this so it doesn't have any of the information on it. This is the Geology shawl from Very Busy Monkey, and that's what it's going to look like when it's finished. It's kind of a sampler shawl. Each one of the tiers has a different stitch pattern in it, and I am going to do more repeats of this pattern. You can basically do it once and then repeat it again, and then put that final feather and fan border on. And that's what I'm going to do, because it's a little bit small, I think, without it. But you can knit it from one skein of sock yarn. I believe the estimate for the yardage is like 380 to 420 yards. So that is what I am currently working on. And I am knitting this using Spun Right Rounds Classic Sock. This is just 100% superwash merino. It is a speckle dye, even though it's very subtle and kind of hard to see that, but the colorway is called Corset Factory, although it kind of looks like a Virginia Tech colorway. Jessie Marie, if you're looking for yarn for something, Corset Factory. And you'll see that even more with how it is knit up. So I am through charts 1, 2, 3, 4, and I just started chart 5 last night. So this is a shawl. You can just barely see where the increases are. It has a triangular shape at the center back, as well as 2 kind of elongated triangles on each side. And I like this shape of shawl for wearing kind of like a scarf. I think it's, for me personally, they're too small they're not deep enough this way, which is partially why I'm going to add on another repeat of this kind of star lace that's down here. Because this to me seems really, really small. Even after blocking, it seems really, really small to me. So my plan is to use, I have 435 yards, I believe, in this skein. So my plan is to use as much of this as I can. And like I said, extend this bottom pattern down quite a bit. I do love how this yarn is knitting up. It's very subtly variegated and speckled, and I think it looks kind of like red rock. So yeah, really enjoying this one. It's a very fun knit because each one of those sections doesn't take super long to do, and so you've got, you know, seed stitch texture here, and then this fun lace that's here, and then a knit purl. She's calling this the elevator pattern because it kind of has stair steps in it. And then, like I said, there's a star lace pattern there. I have until the 25th of September to finish knitting this up. And my hope is to actually get it done a little bit sooner and do kind of a fun photo shoot on a day that isn't gloomy outside, with some of our local sandstone and kind of red rock. I thought that would be just kind of a fun addition. Okay, last up is a project that I actually have on hold while I'm working on some other things, but this is the project that you saw last time we talked, which I had just cast on and was partway up the body. It is the Alanis top by Elizabeth Smith Knits. And I am knitting this using Harrisville Highland, which is their worsted weight yarn that I had in stash. Here's the tag for it. This colorway that I'm using, they call Jade, but it looks a lot more like sage to me. It's not bright green at all, and that's what I think of as jade. But at any rate, I got a lot of work done on this, and it is in very good shape to get it finished up once I finish up some of the challenge projects. So here it is in all of its weird current glory. I have the front completely done. So here's the front neckline and the front shoulders, which are shaped with short rows, and that cute little garter stitch pocket. And I am working on the back. So I've got that much more left to go before I start the shoulder shaping on this. So I think this is going to be a really great top for fall. I can see wearing it as an over top, just over, actually, like the t-shirt I have on today would be fine. So yeah, I'm very pleased with the progress that I made on that. And like I said, that'll come out again later in the month. It's just taking a little break while I work on some of the things that I'm doing for the challenge group. And I will link the challenge group down below to the Ravelry group. Like I said, the term has just started, so you can participate with some of the challenges and things if you are interested, but it isn't something you can earn points for until next term. They do sorting every 3 months. Is that right? Every 4. So we'll have September, October, November for the term. December is like a between term free time. So they'll do sorting again the 1st of January. But lots going on over in that group. So if you are a stitcher and you participated in the Magical Stitches stitching challenge last year with Harry Potter, it's similar, but it's obviously knit and crochet and spinning based, since those are kind of approved crafts for Ravelry. Last but not least in knitting, I actually have a finished spin to share with you all. This is a 2-ounce 1.8 ounce, 257 yard skein, so it's fingering weight, of a really gorgeous bat that I purchased from Edgewood Garden. She doesn't do official gradients, but I got 3 bats that basically make a gradient, and this is the darkest color, called Griffin. It's a combination of wool, alpaca, and glitter. I think there's a little bit of silk in there too. But it's a gorgeous, like, fall coppery color. It looks a little bit red to me there. Let me turn this off for a second. Nope. Still looks red, redder than it is. It's got more sort of chestnut brown in it. But got that spun up and completed, and then this will be the darkest color in the gradient. I have 2 other colors which I will get spun up. Currently, I am taking a break from that because I wanted to spin up some heavier worsted weight Blueface Leicester from an ancient stash club from Fat Cat Knits, and so I'm working on that right now, and hopefully we'll have that to show to you guys next time we talk. Okay, I think that's it for knitting, so we're going to go ahead and talk about books next. I have 3 books that I finished since last time I talked to you to share with you. So the first is a reread, although it's been a long time since I read the book. I think I read it when I was 15 or so. My grandfather recommended it one summer when I was visiting with them, and so I remember vaguely reading it, but I didn't retain very much of it, and that is Daphne du Maurier's Rebecca. So this is a gothic, it's not gothic horror, but it's gothic mystery, I guess. The story is set at Manderley, where our heroine has moved. She has just come there with her new husband, who she met in Monte Carlo while she was kind of the poor relation, not actually related, but she was working as a sort of companion to a wealthy woman. And she's fairly mousy and very young. She's, 20. And he's older and has been recently widowed. And over the course of their time together in Monte Carlo, he winds up asking her to marry him, and they move back to his family estate in England, which is Manderley. His previous wife was apparently very beautiful, very self-possessed, and her, not actual ghost, but sort of the spirit of her, colors their relationship and everything that happens in the house. So there's kind of this creepy housekeeper, and this young woman feels very threatened by this deceased wife who she has built up in her mind to be perfect, the perfect wife, gorgeous, always well dressed, very elegant, everybody loves her. And so what we come to find out as the book progresses is things are not exactly as they seem, and the first wife is not everything she was made out to be. Rebecca has a little bit of the feel of Jane Eyre. It's that sort of kind of, brooding Mr. Rochester main character in her husband, and this very innocent, not very world experienced, very young in many ways, a young woman who's thrown into this situation that is affecting how she does everything and perceives the world as the new wife. Kind of a classic. It's a good read. I had forgotten how well written it is, and the sort of suspense that gets unfolded as the story goes on, it makes it for a great sort of moving into spooky fall kind of read. So recommending that one if you like gothic type novels. The next book I read was a nonfiction book called The Bronte Cabinet. I had this as a Kindle book, which I got very inexpensively. I think it was like a 99-cent sale, but I was interested in it because the premise of the book is to talk about the lives of the Brontes, so Charlotte and Emily, primarily, but it does mention their father and brother as well. And there's 9 existing things that the author uses to discuss these 3 young women and their writing. And they're things that the family owned that had something to do with the girls. So, for instance, one of the items is a writing desk, and they think it was Charlotte's. They're not 100% sure, but that's the history attributed to it, and they're fairly sure that it was hers. One of the things is a walking stick that they think was heavily used by Emily, who's the authoress of Wuthering Heights, when she would walk the moors. And so the author ties in these very specific artifacts with things that appear in the books that the Bronte sisters wrote, as well as their poetry, and then also talks about their family history, social history in England that was happening in the 1830s through 1860s. That was either things that influenced the Bronte sisters, and she does mention the growth of women authors, including Jane Austen, and then things that kind of came after the sisters had all passed away, since they all died fairly young, and the Victorian era and how it related to many of the things that the sisters wrote about in their books. Things like the changing fortunes of tenant farmers, kind of that whole movement from Romanticism to Victorianism, mourning practices, M-O-U-R-N, meaning mourning for the dead practices, marriage, all kinds of sort of social history. I really enjoyed this book. I love the fact that the author had these 9 specific sort of minutia bits that she then developed larger social themes off of. That was very interesting to me. One thing that I was a little bit disappointed in is the Kindle edition. You couldn't, even though they kept saying see photo here, they didn't have any images in the book. I'm assuming the print version did, or they had them in an appendix or something that you could turn to at the end of the chapter. But those images, other than the ones at the very beginning of the chapter that showed the 9 artifacts, didn't exist. And several of the things that you were supposed to refer to that were other books or passages or notes or letters, pieces of letters, that again, I guess were in a footnote, didn't exist in this book, and I actually like to read those. So I was disappointed in the format of the book, but not the information or how the book was written. It's fairly dry. I mean, it's sort of a historical research book. So if you're really into the Brontes, you like reading about the authors and their relation to their books and their books' characters and the landscape that they have created those characters in, you probably still will enjoy this book, but I will recommend that perhaps you get the print version and not the Kindle version to enjoy it, because I'm assuming if you would be interested in reading this book anyway, you probably are interested in reading all the little footnotes. So also a good read, not for everybody, but if you are interested in that kind of nonfiction, then it was well written and quite interesting to me. And just as a side note, I think there's more written about Jane Austen. There's less written about the Brontes, and I'm not sure why necessarily. Maybe because they all died before they were 40. Anne and Emily were both in their 20s, and Charlotte was just shy of her 40th birthday when she died. So I don't know. I'm not sure why that is, and maybe I'm not even correct in that, but it just feels like there's less information out there on the Brontes. So if you're a fan of their works, Jane Eyre, Wuthering Heights, any of those, Emma, you can, not Jane Austen, Emma, you can take a look through the sort of social history that surrounds their writing. Okay, last book, The Hero and the Crown by Robin McKinley. I have to thank Julia of Julicious here on FlossTube for sending me this book. It was not one that I had on my radar, but she was definitely right that I really enjoyed it. It's actually not too long a book in terms of pages, but it is kind of epic fantasy, high fantasy. Our main character is a young woman named Erin, who is the daughter of the king's second wife. So she should have a fairly high rank at court, but she does not, because her mother was supposedly a witch. And so she's been kind of ostracized her whole life, and she's not really sure where she fits. So this is the story about how she figures out who she is, and she comes to be an amazing warrior and kind of embraces some of the magical parts of her mother's heritage and kind of grows into herself throughout the book. She sets off on several epic journeys, and she winds up being integral in saving the kingdom at the end of this book. The book is part of a larger set of stories about the imaginary land of Damar, I think is how it's said. Anyway, so there's a world building that's already happened, and these characters fit into it. The other stories in the series are further along in time. This kind of fills in some of the backstory so that you can keep up with the whole story arc, but it's completely readable by itself. And the best part of this book, which I'm sure Julia knew when she sent it to me, is one of the main characters is this warhorse who is theoretically retired when the book starts. But he is definitely his own personality, and he winds up being her close companion, and the two of them have adventures together. And Robin McKinley's done a great job of creating the character of this horse. You completely know who he is. He's not just an animal that Erin rides. He's definitely an interactive character within the story, and she couldn't have done it without him. So very fun. And I'm going to send that along to Kim over at Spartan Stitcher, because I think she will definitely enjoy the horse part of it. There's also dragons in it, so just saying. I am fairly close to finishing The World That We Knew. I think that's the title of it. It's one of Alice Hoffman's newest books set in World War II. I'm listening to that as an Audible book and really enjoying it. And I just started a new book called The Swans of Fifth Avenue, which is a historical fiction about Truman Capote and New York socialites. So that should be very interesting. I'm just a chapter or two into it, so we'll hopefully have those to talk to you about next time. So let's go ahead then, and we're going to move on and talk about cross stitch. So I don't have a ton of projects to share with you guys this go round, because I've been kind of focused on getting some things checked off my list for September for some challenge projects. I did realize, however, that last time I talked to y'all, I did not bring my summer sampler progress with me. So this is something I worked on in August along with Jessie Marie, who's way ahead of me on this, but that's fine. So this is from Cooler Design Studios. You can get this as a download. It, I think, originally was a kit, and maybe you can find it on eBay, but you can get the PDF download for this and the other 3 seasonal samplers that Sandy Orton designed on the Cooler Design Studio website. And I am stitching this on, get that in there. This is an XJU Designs Even Weave in the colorway Sand. It is 32 count, and I'm using the called for DMC colors. And here is where this is currently. So for this go round, I mostly worked on this set of shells up here at the top, which I got finished. I also added in all of the blue that you see here, which is eventually going to be the lighthouse, and there's a landscape piece right here. I tossed in a few other back stitches and things in this section, which I'm sure can't tell and probably don't remember because it was eons ago when I worked on this last, but it was great to be able to have it out this summer. So I didn't have any specific like page finish type goals on it. But this will be out again next year. It's a blast to work on. Yes, there's oodles of color changes and lots of back stitching, and you know, a lot of it's basically full coverage. This center medallion is pretty much full coverage, and then the vignettes that are over here are as well. There winds up being some black work in it, but it's just really fun, and I love how it's coming out on that fabric. So yeah, so that was my progress for this year. Not, you know, oodles, but progress is progress. So I was happy that I just was able to move along with that. So this will not be out again this year. It will be out next year at some point. Okay, next, let's talk about what I have been working on since month over. Sorry, be right back. No idea. Dog barking at nothing. Okay, I've been working on my supersized Max Color Once Upon a Fairy Tale, and this is where I am. I'm working on this page right here. I'm fairly close to a page finish, but not quite. I put 2,000 stitches in this since the beginning of the month. Finished off most of this horse, and came down here and worked on the griffin. And I also finished this portion of there's a lady standing here. This is her navy blue dress. Let's see if I can get that closer for you guys. And then I also have been working down here on this greenery part. So love how that is coming along. I am just over 15,000 stitches, and I am shooting for 20,000 into that for this year for the 20 and 20 challenge in the Full Coverage Fanatics group. I have it earmarked for at least 4,000 of the remaining I think I have 4,800 stitches left. So I think I can do that. It'd be great to have that accomplished, and you know, I'll have both of those bottom pages finished and move on to a third one. It's just a lot of confetti because it's supersized Max Color. But I am enjoying working on that, and so that will be out again, not this month, but it'll be out again definitely in October. So right now on my to-do list that I'm working on is 1,000 stitches into Desert Mandala for a Semi-Sane Stitchers challenge. So you might remember that I finished up this section last month. So this month I'm working on this section, and my goal for the year is to get everything from these two cactus up finished. So I have a few beads to add in this border, and I have one cactus finished, and I have the other one to put in over here, and most of these, just the plain stitches done for this cactus, these two cacti. I was going to start work on the rattlesnake, which has a fair amount of beads, and I can't find one of the tubes of beads. So you can see I just started this section right here, but I wound up having to reorder beads for that. Sorry, I've got stuff stuck. I wound up having to reorder beads so that I can work on this. So this is out again next month. for another 1,000 stitch challenge. And my plan before I put this away this go round is to finish this right here and do the back stitching and as much of the specialty stitches for the cactus flowers as will get me to 1,000. So probably one more day of work on that. Next time this is out, I'm going to finish the other saguaro that lives here, and then I'm going to finish the snake, and then and the beads over here, and then I should be done with my goal for this year, which will feel great. This is being stitched on 28 count even weave from Picture This Plus. It's the colorway Calypso, and I'm using the called for DMCs, called for hand-dyed silk, called for beads. I am trying to complete this as I go with everything except, you can see like here in the corner and here and here and here, there are crystals that are going to be added, and they're pretty big, you know, fairly good sized. So I'll add those at the very, very end when I get everything else done. But making progress on that, it's light years ahead of where it was at the beginning of this year. So I'm very happy about that. One quick little sort of purchasey thing, and then we're going to talk about some plans. Heaven and Earth Designs had a sale. I think it was like the last weekend in August, to celebrate Michelle's granddaughter being born. And so I did go ahead and pick up Adele Sessler's Beloved, which has been on my wish list for quite a while because I would like to start this fall. So pick this one up and you will see it in the next couple of months. So let me talk really quickly about my plans. I'm going to work on Desert Mandala for another day. I'm then going to jump over and work on A Long Winter's Nap, which is the Haid ornament that I'm working on, and try to get that page finished done because that's also a 2020 goal. And then I'm going to try to do one day on The Pilgrim from Long Dog Sampler, and then I'm going to just focus on Winter Fairy. I wanted to see how much I can get done this month on her. I may have to take a break the last week of the month, but I'm going to try to work like 2 weeks here on her and see how far I get, because I'm committed to getting that done this year and it still has a ways to go. If you are someone who is on Facebook and in our Full Coverage Fanatics group, we just released on Monday all of the events for 2021. So I wanted to talk to you all briefly about those. If you are interested in full coverage but not a member of the group, please come on over and join us there. We've got all kinds of fun things happening happening currently, but also happening in 2021. So in 2021, we're going to repeat our 20 in 2020 concept, but do 21,000 stitches in 2021. So that's a year-long challenge. You can work on it at your own pace. You can use any full coverage project, but you have to pick one and work on it, add your 21,000 stitches. If you get finished with it, you can replace it with either a new start or another work in progress to work on for that. We've also gone ahead and tentatively, well, not tentatively, but we've gone ahead and set up placeholders for 12 different either weekend or month-long events throughout 2021. This year, we've done an event every other week or every other month, either a weekend event or a month-long event. So for instance, we had a month-long event that was bingo. And then we just finished up a weekend event, which is our Confetti Conquistadors event, where you pick a project and you just put however many stitches you can into it that has a lot of confetti. So in 2021, we're going to be alternating between a month-long event, like we've got another bingo event set up. We've got our Wheel of Fortune event. We've got 2 history-themed months. We've got our July Olympics event. All of the details on these will be released as we get closer to that actual month. The other months, the even months in the year, we're going to have a weekend event of some kind, work on something with a lot of confetti, work on your oldest whip, different things like that that are non-counting events. You just pick something that works for you, for that theme, and put as much time into it as you have for that particular weekend. So we're hoping that that'll give folks a nice balance between some counting projects and some non-counting projects, and still be able to get lots of progress on those. The other event that we've set up is a year-long event, but it happens every month, and it's our bookshelf challenge. And for that, we've picked different themes for each month, and you can either choose a counting or non-counting option. So for instance, in January, we're going to be looking at the classics. So we've picked 3 books, and there's a list in the event that tells you what the themes are for that month. So if you choose to do non-counting, just pick a project that fits the theme, put as many stitches as you have time for or interest in into that, and post a start and a stop photo. You don't have to do any counting. The other option is that for each of the books, I've taken the number of pages that Goodreads, the website / app that's a reading tracker, and multiplied that. So if you have multiplied by 100, so for instance, Pride and Prejudice, I think, has 334 pages. So you have to stitch 3,440 stitches to check off that book. So each month has 3 books, and it will have 3 different numbers of stitches listed right there in the event for you to work your way through. If you choose to do all 3 books for all 12 months, it gets you just over 141,000 stitches into projects. Now, for the counters, you do not have to match a theme. You can. I know Kim is planning on doing this. I'm planning on doing this with my little revision, which I'll tell you about in a minute. But you don't have to. It just has to be a full coverage project. So you're going to work on the first book's worth of stitches. So let's say that 3,440 stitches you have to put into one project. Now, when you get to the second book, you can choose a second project if you want, or you can stick with the same one and just get loads of progress on it. Completely your choice. So we're trying to make our events as accessible as possible for folks who either like to count or don't like to count. And I know some folks have less time and some folks have more time to stitch. So we're kind of hoping that this will be a way that everybody can participate. And whether you have, one full coverage project or multiple full coverage projects, you should be able to find something that will work for your particular preferences and your stitching style. So I know already that I do not have unlimited amounts of time to stitch. I wish I did. I would love to put 141,000 stitches into my full coverage projects next year, but realistically, that is not going to happen. And I also know that I want to participate in the other monthly challenges that we've set up. So what I've opted to do is I'm going to do a combination of things for a counting and no counting version of the bookshelf challenge. So for instance, in January, I picked the book that has 1,880 stitches to be stitched for it. One of the themes for that month is Fancy Ladies. So I'm going to choose my full coverage project, a stitching shelf that has all the ladies in their pretty dresses sitting and working on embroidery projects, and put 1,880 stitches into it. And that's going to be my version of the bookshelf challenge, because I think I can do that for most months. The number of stitches varies depending on the number of pages that were in the book. So for instance, July is our fantasy themed month, and the least amount of stitches that matches a book is just under 4,000. So that's a lot of stitches, but it'll be good to challenge myself to do that. And I certainly have loads of things that fall under the magic theme that is included for that month. And I made myself out a little list where I've got everything, I've at least 1 month per project. Some of them are doubled up, like Winter's Encounter, I've got slated for 2 different ones. So my plan and goal is to work through the bookshelf challenge in this way. And hopefully this will also then leave me some time to work on the monthly challenges. So in January, when we do our bingo challenge again, I know that there'll be multiple different projects that get worked on in addition to a stitching shelf that I've got booked for the classics in the bookshelf challenge. So we're super excited for all of these, and we hope that if you are interested in working on a full coverage piece or multiple full coverage pieces, you know who you are, that there will be fun things for you to participate in the group. We have a thread going right now that has some questions answered. There's also a file in the files section of the group. There's both a PDF and a Word document file that list all of the links to all of those events. Please feel free to come join us for as many of those as you feel comfortable participating in. I do think it's going to be a lot of fun, and hopefully will be a motivation for you and me to get some good stitching time in next year. So I'm really looking forward to that. We have one more event that will be created here for November in the full coverage group, which we haven't announced yet, but details on that to come. We've been kind of tossing around some ideas about different things we want to do with the group, and hopefully y'all are enjoying the monthly ones that have been rolling out this year, because there's more of those to come in 2021. All right, I've definitely talked long enough. I think that's it for now. Not sure that I'm going to get back to talk to you guys till the end of the month. We've got some travel and things coming up here for just a quick mini vacation, but I'm in the process also of doing some online teaching, and I'm finding I'm sort of running out of days that I can realistically book podcast filming. So I think it's going to probably be the last week in September before I see you all again. So loads to talk about by that point, I'm sure. Until I do talk to you again, I hope everybody is doing well, staying safe, re-entry to school or work or whatever you've got going post-quarantining. Just do take care of yourselves. Make sure you're washing your hands and wearing your mask and being sensible and all that good stuff. And I'm going to try to do the same here. So until next time I talk to you all, be well, be kind.